the things I like to talk about with drummers being prepared for things is, uh, you know your rudiments, you can read, you have good technique so you can express yourself, you have a good touch so you can create a good tone on your instrument, then the coordination to be able to do four things at the same time, then be able to play a myriad of styles, so your rock, your jazz, your funk as the big three, but then in there you've got like Latin, world, reggae tone, you got all the little subgenres, and then being able to play with a click or without a click and make it sound good, be able to program loops, be able to handle some percussion, overdub some percussion, and then just know some of the ins and outs of the music industry so you can survive this thing, because the music industry is really the Wild West. So if you can do all those things, I think you're giving yourself a better chance of success. I do a lot of teaching, and sometimes I'll hear guys and I'll say, like, send me a video of you playing with this track or whatever. And they got good posture and they got a good sound, they can lock with the track, but they don't know how to read music. And so a lot of times I'll teach guys, I'll be like, look, we'll do online lessons and I'll hold your hand and I'll make sure that you can get all the way through the Ted Reed Syncopation for the Modern Drummer book. And by the time you get to the end of that book, you're going to have this skill set that's going to help you so much. So if you do go to the cruise ship and you've got to read Village People's YMCA and it's all written out, you're golden. Or if you go to a recording session and somebody says, we're going to cut this song and there's no chart and you have to scribble out your own chart and there's a bunch of figures, da 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 ba da ba da, you could write it out. This is a massive skill set. I can't encourage reading enough. As a matter of fact, I'm teaching reading levels 3 and 4 at Musicians Institute in Hollywood, and I get all these great kids that have great feel. They're playing like with System of a Down tracks. And I'm like, great, can you read it if you had to? And they're like, and that's like, that's what we need to focus on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, especially in my job, that's pretty much the gig. It's like
clicks
no way you
track.
can remember 250 different tracks
clicks, tracks, and charts.
Yeah, and like you said,
styles.
Sometimes there'll be a track that people will want to do that we won't have a chart for, so you chart it yourself, so it's like super important. I think I always in my mind, I think, this is nothing bad to say on people who learn and they don't read, right. But I think it's the equivalent of learning how to like speak and articulate from TV and film rather than the written word. Like, I kind of find similarities in them both. Like when you learn to like read music, you learn how it's constructed so that you can construct. Whereas if you just hear it as a phrase or on a TV show or a film, you don't learn how they constructed it. You just know what they've said so that you can repeat what they have said.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just filling in the gaps so that once again, you don't have an Achilles heel. I mean, it's like you're wanting to fix as many chinks in your armor as possible. So as you're marketing. So like, where did you get your training? Did you study like with a teacher?
Did. I started playing drums when I was about 11. I'm 27 now. And I started playing when I was about 11 to get out of maths class. I hated maths. And a kid came in one day and he missed most of the maths class. I was like, where have you been? And he was like, oh, I've just had a drum lesson. I was like, no way is that even a thing. This was back when like music was really encouraged in schools. And so I was like, I'm going to do that now then. So that's how I started. And then I obviously loved it, fell in love with it. But I've always had teachers throughout my life. So, I had a teacher that, was my first teacher, and then I went up and up and up. And then I went to Newcastle in England to study my undergraduate. And then I went to London to study my master's in music.
Nice.
And then I had a year where I was just auditioning, and then I ended up on cruise ships. But nice. So it's always been that thing of like, drum education is like as like, learning drums through that medium,